the right side of history. I've always been, I feel, a very loving and adaptable individual, but I think I've had to learn increasingly, as I think we all do, if we want to continue to mature and grow as a person and continue to be successful, to become even more adaptable. Because in the law of accelerating returns, society is changing more than ever and quicker. And that's true technologically, but I think it's also true, culturally, socially, in terms of norms and standards, because product adoption cycles are so much quicker. It's like technologies could take root in a very short time, companies could take root in a very short time, and social ideas could take root in a very short time as well, because we have global connectedness. I mean, now we have increasing space travel on the horizon, and it's just there's cross-pollination of ideas, and things happen much more quickly. So on an individual level, I've had to positively confront, changes to my mindset, both in terms of business, technology, but also in terms of like society and where things are going. Because as I said, I've always been, I think, very open-minded, but I think just the rate of change and just, from one generation to the next, things are much different. Like ideas that are kind of in the norm, in one generation get a little bit translated. It doesn't mean like completely put on their head, but I think society is always progressing. We still have conflicts and wars, but we have the most peaceful and, we still have a lot of income inequality, but we have the most, I think, socially conscious, time. I mean, people could say like, the 60s when we had the anti-war movement, and now people are perhaps not as much, protesting, but I think we have a lot more awareness of different issues than we had in the past. And I think that, society is always evolving. I mean, there was a time when, women couldn't vote, blacks couldn't vote. We had slavery, obviously, at one time in this country. And I think that, we're far from perfection, but I think that we are moving forward, not only as a society, but as a world. But I think whenever you have that kind of movement forward, you also have a countervailing trend where people are afraid, and they try to scapegoat, and they try to hold on to the past. There's a lot of slogans, in that regard, in terms of like, the past is better than the future, or the past is better than the present, that we've been corrupted. I mean, sometimes it's like two steps forward, one step back. I mean, there are elements of the past that are good that we want to hold on to, but we don't want to be beholden to the past. I think it's kind of like almost like a dance in a positive way, a paradox, that we want to be forward thinking. We want to bring the best of the past into the future. Like some people just try to drop the past, which is not good. Like even in a relationship, it's like they just cut off this, cut off this, cut off this. They don't want to listen to the other side. Like Republicans don't want to listen to Democrats, and Democrats don't want to listen to Republicans. I'm not talking about a moral equivalency. I'm talking about that, there's a process of synthesis. You have thesis, and then you have antithesis, and then you have synthesis. So if you want to make progress, you have to take the best of, like, people do this in families. Like they take elements of their father, they take elements of their mother. Sometimes it's like 90-10, or sometimes it's 50-50, depending upon your circumstance. But you have to be able to integrate the different aspects of life. And being on the right side of history means that, you hold on to the past when the past is serving you, but you let go of the past when the past is no longer serving you. And I think that's an element of timing, and it's a matter of degree. It's a matter of nuance, because sometimes it's like you hold on to some things that your parents told you, and sometimes you don't. And sometimes you do to a certain degree. Each generation is moving forward, and if we want to be on the right side of history, we have to be aware of the megatrends. We have to be aware of like where society is moving, and that, an idea that was prevalent in the past may or may not be prevalent in the future, and new and better ideas may replace. You could say new and better, or you could say new and different. We also have to be aware of these countervailing forces that, as society moves like more towards globalization, more towards, space, and more towards technology, there's always going to be, I don't want to call them Luddites, because, people have genuine concerns, but we have to integrate, both the moving forward and the countervailing. We have to recognize the resistance. Like Teal Swan famously says, if you want to change other people's minds, you have to deal with them where they're at. And if people are resistant, and there's a lot of resistance, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of scapegoating, there's a lot of let's return to the past and simplicity. I mean, simplicity is good, but so is progress. So how do you reconcile those two, and how do you stay on the right side of history? These are important thought questions to consider in life.